Hello everyone. I am on today to share my latest DIY project with you. I made myself a set of tarot tiles and I thought I would provide like a quick and dirty tutorial of sorts so that people can reference this in case anyone out there wanted to make their own set. So I will try my best to leave links to some of the materials I used in the description box below. They will not be affiliate links. I don't know how one even goes about making an affiliate link, but just to help you out in terms of the exact items that I used. So why don't we just go ahead and get into it, and I will try to take you step by step. First off, I had to decide what I wanted to use as like my tile. Did I want wood? Did I want resin? And I wanted something that was already pre-cut and that wouldn't cost me an arm and a leg and was the size that I wanted, or around the size. And so what I eventually decided on was acrylic blanks. And so this is an acrylic circle, and I bought a set of 100 online for about $25. You can choose different colors. You could even get clear if you wanted, but I decided on something that you couldn't see through because you are going to be gluing the image to one side and then something else to the other if you choose. So I decided on this purple color. I've seen other colors. When I looked online, I did see that there were shapes that were either like square, kind of like Scrabble tiles in wood, or kind of like circular tiles or blanks. Nothing kind of that rectangle shaped unless you were going to get them, like I said, custom made, or I might have found a few on Etsy, but they were just way too expensive and not quite the dimensions I wanted anyway. So this is what I settled on, okay? So when you get your acrylic blanks, if that's what you decide to use, there'll likely be, or there should be, protective coverings on both sides to avoid scratches. Although essentially, since these are going to be used as tiles, in all likelihood, they're going to get banged up over time. But in any case, all I did was I just used like one of these, what are these? What are these called? X-Acto knives, or just use a kind of sharp blade, and all you have to do is kind of just go along the edge just a little bit, to peel off just that little bit, and then you can do the rest with your hand, no problem, and no scratches. Okay. So this is 1.5 inches in diameter. Certainly you can get something that's bigger. I don't know that I'd go too much smaller. In terms of the imagery, I decided to use, where I got my images from was my Centennial. I know. I never used this deck. I had the deck, had it in purgatory at a certain point, never really used it, and I thought I want a deck that I can, chop up and kind of massacre and play around with without feeling bad. And so I just went ahead and used what I had, which was my Centennial. You can certainly buy a much less expensive RWS deck online. You could probably even print out, if you have like a color printer, you could print out the images and use those. You don't have to use RWS. You can use whatever you want. You don't even have to use actual images. You can take like a Posca paint marker and like draw on them. There are just so many things you can do, but I'm showing you what I did, which was to use the Centennial deck and cut that up. So I took my Centennial And I went ahead, because this disc is 1.5 inches across, I took a circle stencil, which again, you can find, just do a search for circle stencil, and you'll find this very inexpensive online. And I decided to go with, so I have 3 different sizes here, and I decided, I mean, I could have gone with the 1.5, but I decided to go for a little smaller to give me a bit of a border so that, you know, when I put the sealant on, the entire image would be covered and protected along the edges, and that I wouldn't have to, because see, you can see here that my stencil is a little bit even bigger than this disc. So I would have to do further trimming, and that is just, that was not something that I wanted to take the time to do. So ultimately I chose this, which is 1 inch in diameter, okay? And I essentially just went through each image and decided, okay, what do I want to most focus on? What most sticks out to me, that I want to put on the tile. And so let's just take this title card as an example, because I've already created my set of tiles. And so for the High Priestess, I decided I wanted to focus in on the face. So I just went ahead and used my stencil and just a pen. And then all I did was use a pair of scissors. You don't need a fancy pair of like Fisker scissors or any type of brand name. These are legit from, like, I don't know, Safeway or I don't know, some grocery store. And I just went ahead and cut out the circle. You could buy a circle punch. I know that those are available online. Again, I wanted to use what I had, and so I just went ahead and cut them myself. Okay, so I have cut my image out, and I have my blank, and I see that that looks, you know, that looks pretty good, looks pretty circular, pretty even how I cut. And so now it's time to place the image on the blank. So I went ahead and used Zots, which are these double-sided circular sticky dots, but you don't have to. You can also use double-sided tape. And again, these are pretty accessible. So what I went ahead and did was, right, put on a Zot. Then I took a pair of tweezers so that I could make sure that I was centering my image on the tile before laying it down. So that looks about good. There we go. Now, for the backs, I mean, certainly the world is your oyster. You can put some other image on the back, paint something on there. I mean, you can get creative. I, again, wanted to keep the process fairly simple and not have to go through too many extraneous steps. So ultimately, I opted to use these for my backs. These are envelope seals, envelope stickers, you know, that you place on the back of a letter. And these are a little more than 1.5 inches in diameter. And that's fine because I was just able to trim off the excess. But you can find, if you decide to go this route, you can find different sizes. Okay, so, and also these are different designs. I did not really care. So taking this, all I did was put that on, making sure there are no bubbles. Okay, so here you have some excess. Just went ahead and just trimmed that off. Okay, so I found that just using my scissors, I was able to get close enough where it felt really, really, smooth and even. If you do feel like you're not getting close enough to the tile, take a pair of nail clippers and use that to snip off the excess seal. So there are the backs. So the last step in this process for me was to add a protective seal across the image. And I just decided to use Mod Podge. And this is a gloss surface coating. I think you can also get it in like a matte surface seal. I think there are different variations. I personally liked the look of the gloss. And so this is a water-based sealer, glue, and finish. And all I did was I used this and a paintbrush. I used this one with a flatter head. As you can see, got this from, in the US, we have a store that's called 5 and Below. Everything's like $5 and below. So I got this whole set for $5. And I used this kind of wide, flat bristle brush to just go along the top. And for someone who has never used Mod Podge, just know that it's going to look white when you first lay down, the initial coating. And I think I don't think I went over it that many times. I think I just put like I went back and forth a few times to make sure that it was evenly covered, but I didn't put on a super thick coating of Mod Podge, just enough that I knew it was adequately covered. It's gonna look white, it dries clear. And then this would be your final result. So you can see how it's clear. I don't know if this is, if the lighting's good enough to show the gloss, but this is the finished product. And of course the back is already protected by this vinyl envelope seal, and we are good to go. Now we're going to do a silent flip through of my entire tile set so that you can see up close which details I decided to hone in on and use for each of my tiles. And I hope that it serves as a kind of helpful reference point for anybody who, once again, decides they would like to make their own set. So here we go.